Your tape-to-tape gameplay made me hockey-pilled. Unfortunately, as a Columbus Blue Jackets fan, are there any positives to this? I mean, there is... You might... A lot of people... That's a great octopus. Will not understand this, but if you're a hockey fan, you will understand this, okay? It's actually better to be a Columbus Blue Jackets fan this year than it is to be a Vancouver Canucks fan. Because you were the fucking worst, which is great. If you're gonna be bad, you want to be the worst. And the Blue Jackets are unfathomably bad. Your season as a Blue Jackets fan is like equally painful to my season as a Canucks fan, but your worst, you have the best chances of winning a generational talent in the draft lottery, and we're like 7th worst. So what, you got like 6 less wins than us, but every time we win, the whole fan base is like, I wish we would have lost that one. It doesn't, because we're not going to make the playoffs anyway. You just got Pettersson? That shit was 6 years ago, idiot. And we picked 5th. We got him in the 5th position. This is like Pettersson's 4th season or something like that. You just got Johnny Gaudreau. You basically, you got a amazing playmaking center, not to mention an amazing sniper. Literally, you know why you got both of those players is because Columbus is in the United States, and both Winnipeg and Calgary are in the Canadian prairies. So congratulations, you really attracted some great talent by virtue of having lower taxes on a federal level and not being a desolate frozen wasteland that inspired Hoth in The Empire Strikes Back. So listen, we had solidarity. I was there with the Columbus fans. We were shaking hands and saying we're all dog shit until you tried to be like, no, actually, it's harder for us. Shut the fuck up. Good Lord. Can't you just let us be friends without trying to put a barrier between us for no reason? Actually, my suffering is more noble. Okay, well, congratulations. I mean, I thought previously I liked Columbus, even though their mascot is what, a cannon? Or a weird little bug with his eyes bulging out of his frickin' skull? Then I forgot. For a sec, you know what? For years I've forgotten. Oh, right, it's in Ohio. I should hate that team. Go back to watching the most storied college football franchise of like the past 30 years and defining your personality by being like, you know, oh, hey, at least we're not Pennsylvania, okay? Leave the hockey to the people who know what they're talking about. Okay, I'd like to apologize to the people in Ohio who caught strays. I know Pennsylvania's better, though. I know that. You know that. Everyone knows that unless you're from Ohio. I mean, come on. Would you rather have Pittsburgh and Philadelphia or Columbus, Cincinnati, and Cleveland? What's the best of them? Cleveland? Cincinnati? We put chili on our spaghetti? Even people from Ohio can't agree on which one's the best. Okay, now, yeah, I'm not saying Ohio is one of the states in the union that's like closer to the bottom than the top. I mean, at least it's not Indiana. Like, the only reason I even know a city in Indiana is because they have a NASCAR race there. Can you imagine that being... It's way too far. I'm sure there's plenty of great things going on in Indiana. Like housing prices or something, but I'm sorry to say, I know 2 things about Indiana. There's one of them is like they have a NASCAR race, and the other one is that Peyton Manning lived there for 17 years and then got out. And it's next to Illinois, which I'm not trying to make enemies out of like everybody in the Midwest, but at least has Chicago. No matter how bad your city is, it'll never be as bad as Brampton, Ontario. I mean, Ontario is like it. Canada is different than the United States. You know, we have less provinces. I'm not sure if that's been mentioned a few times as of yet. So several of our provinces have like multiple states' identity wrapped up in them. Like Ontario is simultaneously like New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Ohio. Like it's got like 10 states. It's North Dakota once you get up near like the Hudson's Bay. Nebraska, it's Michigan once you get down into like, southwestern Ontario. BC is like Washington, Oregon, California, Idaho, Wyoming, like all wrapped up in one another. I don't know if we really have a Florida. I gotta think about that. What would be Canada's Florida? I mean, Newfoundland is kind of like our Florida, I guess. Like if I saw a headline that started like a man in Newfoundland dot dot dot, I'd be like, I'm about to read something a little crazy. If they're gonna lead with that, then there's I'm about to see. I mean, like Newfoundland. When I think, and this, I actually envy it because BC has no. Let me rephrase. Vancouver, as of right now, has no like cultural footprint except moving here because the weather is nice, and then like complaining about the price of everything. But Newfoundland is kind of crazy. When you go there, you want to get screeched in. You drink some moonshine and you kiss a fish on the lips, and they say now you're an honorary Newfoundlander. They also, I've mentioned this before too, but they also have a holiday called the Mummers. I guess it's not a holiday, but like a ceremony. So one night a year, everybody dresses up in like costumes of the opposite sex, and then goes around to their neighbors' houses and just gets hammered. Wait, they do that in Philadelphia too? It sounds based. It sounds like a good way to meet your neighbors. It's probably better to meet your neighbors for the first time over a few glasses of screech than it is to be like, oh, your fence is like 3 millimeters over your catchment or something like that, and I'm going to take you to small claims court. What does NL know about Wisconsin? It's the theme song to that 70s show. Green Bay is there. Yeah, they think they're the America's cheese capital, but actually everybody knows it's Vermont. They just don't want to tell them. And then also they like you could order like a cocktail that's supposed to be served in a martini glass. You could be like, "Hey, can I have a vermouth martini?" They will serve it to you in a highball glass. It'll have 4 shots of vermouth in it and a black olive, and it'll be $1.75. That's my preconceived notions about Wisconsin, a state I've never been to. How about Rhode Island? Listen, I'm not going to do this for every state in the union. Rhode Island, I'm making a special case just because of the fact that am I the only person who realizes that that state is not a fucking island? Isn't it? It's peninsular, right? It's not even peninsular. It's just kind of, it just juts out. It's just land. It doesn't even jut. You have to understand, I'm not really knocking it. It's not, there's no wrong way to eat a Reese's, but like, coming from Canada, which is my frame of reference, it definitely seems weird that you could drive through in the Northeast, like, 11 states in half of one day. That's madness. Now, probably if you're from Europe, you could drive through like 11 countries in 12 hours or something like that. So you're like, what are you talking about? That's not weird at all. But coming from a Canadian frame of reference, which is not necessarily like what should be the norm, but it is for me, it seems nuts because like if you drive for 10 hours from Vancouver, like your ass might only be in Burnaby, depending on whether or not we've had 0.5 millimeters of snow that day. Yeah, like I saw people saying like Connecticut should annex Rhode Island. And I was like, bro, who's telling all these people from Connecticut that their state is that noteworthy? As far as I'm concerned, like every state from the Atlantic Ocean to New York should just be Maine. We don't need this Connecticut, Vermont, like New Hampshire. I barely even remember that it existed. That's just one big, like, little slice of pizza on the map to me that should be Maine, in my opinion. Based on absolutely nothing.